Was Igor in the original Frankenstein? Have you ever wondered about the character Igor in the classic tale of Frankenstein? You might be surprised to learn that Igor is not a part of Mary Shelley's original novel. Let's dive into the history and characters of Frankenstein to understand why. In Mary Shelley's novel, Victor Frankenstein is the scientist who creates the monster. He works alone in his laboratory, gathering body parts and bringing the creature to life. There is no mention of a lab assistant or a character named Igor in the original story. The character of Igor actually originated from film adaptations of Frankenstein. In these adaptations, Igor is often depicted as a hunchbacked sidekick to the mad scientist, usually Victor Frankenstein or another similar character. For example, in the 1931 movie, Frankenstein by Universal Studios, a character named Fritz plays a role similar to Igor, acting as a servant to Henry Frankenstein. In the original novel, after creating the monster, Victor Frankenstein suffers a nervous breakdown and is cared for by his friend Henry Clerval. However, Henry Clerval had no involvement in the creation of the monster and was unaware of its existence until it was too late. So, to answer the question, Igor is not a character in Mary Shelley's original novel, Frankenstein. He is a creation of later adaptations and interpretations of the story. Was Igor in the original Frankenstein? Imagine you're reading a classic horror novel and you come across a character that everyone seems to know, Igor. But if you're reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you won't find him there. Let's explore why. In the original story, Victor Frankenstein is a scientist who dreams of creating life. He spends years studying and experimenting, eventually bringing a monstrous creature to life. However, he does this all by himself. There's no lab assistant, no Igor, just Victor and his ambition. The character of Igor was introduced in later adaptations, particularly in films. In these movies, Igor is often a hunchbacked assistant who helps the mad scientist. For instance, in the 1931 Universal Studios film, a character named Fritz fills this role, but he's not in the original book. In the novel, after Victor creates the monster, he becomes ill and is cared for by his friend Henry Clerval. Henry had nothing to do with the monster's creation and only learns about it later. So if you're looking for Igor in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you won't find him. He's a product of later interpretations and adaptations. Was Igor in the original Frankenstein? If you've watched any of the classic Frankenstein movies, you might remember a character named Igor, often depicted as a hunchbacked lab assistant. But did this character exist in Mary Shelley's original novel? Let's take a closer look. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the main character, Victor Frankenstein, is a scientist driven by his ambition to create life. He steals bodies, reconstructs them, and brings the creature to life all by himself. There is no mention of an assistant or a character named Igor in the book. Igor actually appears in later film and stage adaptations of Frankenstein. For example, in the 1823 play Presumption or The Fate of Frankenstein, a character named Fritz serves as a servant to Victor Frankenstein. However, this is not part of the original novel. In the original story, after creating the monster, Victor Frankenstein has a breakdown and is taken care of by his friend Henry Clerval. Henry Clerval is not involved in the creation of the monster and only learns about it later. So, to clarify, Igor is not a character in the original Frankenstein novel by Mary Shelley. He is a creation of later adaptations and interpretations.